afternoon, everyone. It's Robert from On My Turntable. Hope you're having a great day today. It is Monday afternoon. Beautiful day out there today. It's nice and sunny, but then here on Wednesday it's supposed to snow. So what the hell? I don't know. Don't know what's going on with this. Is a crazy world. Wanted to show you a couple of albums I just received through Amazon to add to my already growing collection of this particular band, and go through some of their albums and the band itself. It's a band that doesn't get talked too much about on the vinyl community, which I don't understand, amongst other bands that don't. We talk a lot about the Beatles and Bob Dylan and Van Morrison and all these guys, but no one really talks too much about Pink Floyd. I don't know why, because they're an amazing band. They really are. I picked up a couple of Pink Floyd albums to add to my growing collection. I don't have everything, but I've got some important albums in their career, and first to last, and then a little bit in between. So, of course, Pink Floyd, English rock band, formed in 1965. One of the first British psychedelic bands, and a leading band of the progressive rock movement in the world, basically. Just remarkable stuff. So their first album, Piper at the Gates of Dawn, debut album. Remarkable stuff, featuring Syd Barrett, amazing guitarist, songwriter, singer, founding member of the band. This album was released in 1967. Syd Barrett was the primary songwriter, although two of the tracks were credited to the band, and one was credited to Roger Waters, bassist. Two of the songs, Astronomy Domain and Interstellar Overdrive, became part of their live set. Their famous songs are their live set. And since its release, the album itself has been hailed as a psychedelic rock album, one of the better and earlier forms of psychedelic rock. It was placed in number 347 in Rolling Stones magazine's top 500 albums of all time, and number 253 in the 2020 edition. Syd Barrett himself, remarkable artist, unfortunately tragically plagued with mental illness. He was a student when he formed the band. They were all students when they formed the band. Guitarist, singer, songwriter, Nick Mason, drums, Roger Waters, bass guitar and vocals, and Richard Wright, keyboards and vocals. They released 2 charting singles, as I mentioned, and the debut album, Pipers at the Gates of Dawn. David Gilmour joined a little later when Syd Barrett wasn't able to perform, and Roger Waters then became the primary lyricist and leader of the band. And then, of course, they created amazing albums like Dark Side of the Moon, The Wall, on and on and on. But this debut album was a pivotal album, for sure. But since that album's released, they've sold 250 million albums worldwide. One of the best-selling artists of all time, and The Dark Side of the Moon and The Wall, among the best-selling albums of all time as well. So just remarkable stuff. But that album, that debut album, is so good. So good. Unfortunately, I don't have the second and third album, but I do have Guma, the fourth album, released by the band. One of the last albums to feature the band on the cover, as the rest of the albums didn't show them at all. And it's the fourth album by the band, released in 1969. Part of it consists of live recordings, concerts from Mother's Club in Birmingham and the College of Commerce in Manchester. and then the other half of the album was solo compositions by each of the band members. Um, and it was recorded at Abbey Road Studio. Um, the band itself didn't really like this album. I don't know why. Um, it grows on you for sure. But critically, and the critics loved this album. So band members didn't like it. The fifth album by the band, Adam Heart Mother. I always want to call it Atomic Heart Mother, but it's Adam Heart Mother. It does show the band inside, but they have their faces covered. But another fine album, really, really good. It's released in 1970, the band's first album to reach #1 in the UK and number 55 in the US, eventually going gold in the US. But great album. It's so good. The one I received a couple of days ago through Amazon is Metal. Another fine album. And the sixth album by the band, released in 1971. It was a group effort, both lyrically and musically, contributions from each band member. And it was a traditional album between the Syd Barrett years, the influence on the group, and the later influence of David Gilmour. So it was a combination of those two eras together to make up this album, and it's a really album, really great album. One of their masterpieces, the eighth album by the band, Dark Side of the Moon. This is this still takes you places when you hear it. It's just, I mean, you've heard it so many times, but every time I hear it, I hear something different in it. Released on March 1st, 1973. Conceived as an album that was focusing on the pressures faced by the band during, they had this audacious lifestyle. They were just rolling in dough at the time, and of course dealing with mental health problems suffered by Syd Barrett. They were still honoring Syd Barrett even though it was a year since he's been in the band. And a concept album exploring themes such as conflict and greed and time and death and mental illness. If you really listen to these lyrics, I mean, they're deep stuff. Most critically acclaimed records of all time, and listed as one of the greatest albums of all time as well. It just put Pink Floyd into international stardom. It really did. It's just remarkable stuff. I mean, it's certified platinum 14 times, charted for 957 weeks. That's just remarkable. Estimated sales of over 45 million copies just in this album alone. Some bands don't do 45 million, but this album did. It's one of the best-selling albums worldwide. It's really a journey every time you listen to it. Another one of my favorites, Wishing You Were Here. Ninth studio album by the band. It does come with a dark cover, but I kept this one. I like it that way. Released in 1975. A lot of criticisms about the music industry in this themes of this album. Alienation, and again more tribute to Syd Barrett in this one, who left 7 years previous to this album being released. So they're still honoring this gentleman. That's how important he was to the band. They just didn't leave him by the side and take over. They really cared about this guy, and they're still honoring him through songs. Wish You Were Here is a prime example. Again, hailed as one of the greatest albums of all time, and it was one of Richard Wright's and David Gilmour's favorite albums also of Pink Floyd. #1 in the US, and sold over 20 million copies worldwide. Just a remarkable album. as well as this one is. This is a, a masterpiece in my opinion. This is Roger Waters' masterpiece. This is Animals. This is remarkable stuff. I would hail this as a concept album about the music industry, about big business, Big Brother type of thing. Because you've got pigs, dogs, and sheep. That's the theme of the album. And the music is so good. The lyrics are gritty and powerful and deep and dark, and it's just an amazing stuff. It's their 10th studio album, released in 1977. One of my favorites. As well as this one. This is another Roger Waters masterpiece, The Wall. Double album. Double CD, obviously. I also have a live version of it. This is there anybody out there? The Wall Live, Pink Floyd, 1980-1981. Great live album. Released in 1979, the 11th studio album by the band. It's about a jaded rock star called Pink, whose eventual self-isolation from society forms like a figurative wall around him, and it's breaking down that wall. It was a commercial success, on the chart for 15 weeks, reaching number 3 in the UK, and again, another great album, listed as one of the greatest albums of all time. It was the last album to feature Pink Floyd as a quartet, as Roger Waters and Richard Wright did not get along. The keyboardist Richard Wright, and Richard Wright was actually fired during the production of the album, but he stayed on as a salaried musician, just so he could get paid, obviously. 3 big singles from this one: Another Brick and Wall Part 2, Run Like Hell, and Comfortably Numb. Comfortably Numb is one of my favorite Pink Floyd songs of all time. 1982, The Wall was adapted into a major feature film, and again, Roger Waters wrote all the screenplay. It's one of the best known concept albums. 30 million copies sold worldwide, and it's one of the best-selling albums behind Dark Side of the Moon. Just remarkable stuff. Another one I got in the mail along with Metal was A Momentary Lapse of Reason. Another great album. This is a David Gilmour album, as Roger Waters is no more. 13th studio album by the band, released in the UK in 1987, September 7th, and the following day in the US. It was recorded on David Gilmour's converted houseboat. Can you imagine? Astoria. So that's where they recorded this album, on a houseboat. Momentary Last Reason was the first Pink album recorded without founding member Roger Waters. He left in 1985. Also, because he left, Richard Wright was back, keyboardist, and it reached number 3 in the UK and the US, and outsold the previous album before this, The Final Cut, which I've yet to get. I've got to get that one for sure. But great album. Along with this one, this is another David Gilmour, in my opinion, a masterpiece. This is The Division Bell. It's a double album, 14th studio album by the band, released in 1984. Second album recorded without Roger Waters, and written mostly by David Gilmour. Richard Wright also wrote a couple of tracks, and also sang lead. It was the first song he played. First song he sang lead on since Dark Side of the Moon. David Gilmour's fiance, novelist Polly Sampson, actually wrote most of the lyrics, or co-wrote most of the lyrics. dealing with all the things about communication. Um, it was the last album, unfortunately, to feature Richard Wright, who passed away in 2008. A huge loss for the band. This band's had a lot of loss, for sure. Reached number 1 in 10 countries, including the UK and US, and certified double platinum. It just, again, a remarkable album. And finally, the last album by the band, The Endless River. This was released in 2014, and Jeff Witcher did a video on CD cases, and this is one that he's talking about the jewel cases, and then these ones here. This one never sticks on this one, so it's a pain, but it doesn't take away from the greatness of the album. Again, a David Gilmour piece. It was also the first album after the death of Richard Wright. And David Gilmour said it would be their final album, the final Pink Floyd album. It's mostly instrumental, mostly ambience music. And a lot of the writing came during the Division Bell recordings as well. So they took some of that material, and then they added some material later on and made this amazing album. Only one track, Louder Than Words, has vocals on it, and it was promoted with the Louder Than Words single and the artwork illustrations in cities all over the world, and it was the most pre-ordered album in UK's Amazon division, which is kind of cool. It debuted at number 1 in several countries also, so it's a remarkable album, as all their albums are. I can't say one's better than the other because I don't rank my albums that way, but Pink Floyd is just a remarkable band, and you hear all the hits, but tons of deep tracks in these albums. And hope you enjoy. Love you guys. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye now.